let's get into it. Game changer. So you wrote a post the other day asking on Facebook for the craziest game changer stories. You got a lot of responses, over 200 comments. I think I read all of them, looking for just some to refer back to, I guess. There was a very common theme throughout the comments. It sounds like some of these parents are just crazy about these numbers for some reason.
Yeah, it's definitely over the top.
Some parents, not all parents. We're not going to do the umbrella statement, but some parents.
I would say in general, in youth sports, most parents, most of the adults are great.
Right.
But just like anything in life, I think your negative people who do things to create chaos and drama, they come off as the loudest. So that those are the ones that give the adults a bad reputation.
So then it's the parents, quote unquote, and everybody kind of gets lumped into the same thing, but they're not. So
Correct.
When we're talking about this, we're not trying to rag on all the parents or rag on anybody, but it is wild.
Yeah. A few years ago, at some point, I started noticing a discrepancy in some of the stats that I was reading, and with talking to kids and talking to parents and even on social media, I started realizing that these numbers aren't correct.
Mm-hmm.
A kid says he went 10 for 15 in a tournament, because they get a lot of at-bats sometimes. And then you talk about it, and most of what happened, a lot of those hits were actually errors, but someone is either scoring them in GameChanger as hits, or there's just a misunderstanding of what a hit actually is. So I started digging into it and really started looking closer. And I think a few years ago is when I put my first GameChanger post out there on social media. And I said, if whoever's keeping it does not have a good feel for hits versus errors, wild pitches versus pass balls, what a fielder's choice is, what stolen bases versus defensive indifference means, then all of these numbers, batting average, on base percentage, earned runs, earned run average, all these things are going to be so wrong that if you're looking at these stats and thinking that it's a reflection of how a kid or a team is performing, we're just not understanding what we're reading, or even just how stats play into the game, I guess. But let me preface this by saying that the app itself is an amazing app. What it can do is amazing.
Yeah.
When it first came out, they didn't have the video version where you could stream live video, but now they can stream live. What a cool app for grandparents, parents that are away, family members to watch the game from a different location. I mean, when Brookie has her tournament, sometimes someone will stream a game over YouTube or Baller TV, some of these other things. What a cool thing that technology is providing for all of us.
Yes, I agree.
But again, the app itself is not the problem.
Right.
And I think that when I put that out there, people need to understand I'm not ragging the app.
Yes.
I'm not talking down on the app. I mean, the app is cool. I would think that with where we're at with technology and AI, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you can literally open up the app, turn the camera on, set it up, and the AI will watch the game and score it. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to that point, to be honest, just with how technology is and where everything's going. But it comes down to user error. It comes down to adult emotion. The people who are keeping score, running the app during the games, there's too much bias sometimes. You read through all these comments and the person running it, their kid is always given a hit, never an error when they're hitting. It's never scored an error, always a hit. But then the other kids on the team, errors will be charged to when they're hitting.
Right.
Or vice versa. If their kid is pitching, there's way more errors, wild pitches versus pass balls. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the people who are running it, there's too much emotion being played into it. There's too much bias happening. And even worse, I don't know if you wrote a couple of these down, you hear about coaches going in after the fact and doing things to make their team look better, the stats look better for something. That's not what the app was meant for.
Right.
There are leagues out there like Little Leagues, Rec Leagues, City Leagues that will use GameChanger stats to decide who makes all-star teams. And because of that, of course, you get adults going in there and either after the fact or during the game, they are doing things to make certain players look better on paper or on the app than what they're really doing. So at the end of the season, say a league is coming down to the last 2 or 3 spots on an all-star team, and they're comparing these GameChanger numbers, trying to figure out who had the better season. And if there was some manipulation that happened earlier in the season, you might end up in a situation where the kid who gets that spot didn't deserve it over somebody else
Mhm.
because the adults fibbed.
Yeah.
And the amount of deceit and stuff that's going on with this app is mind-boggling.
Well, I did read there was one team refused to put the other team down as the opponent for some reason. I don't know. Coaches go in, they'll delete entire games out of there to maybe they lost. There's a lot of padding of the numbers. That was kind of the common theme. So you do have the mistakes, the innocent mistakes that are made, scorekeeping mistakes, not realizing that just because you make contact with the ball, it's a hit. That's not a hit. I think that's an innocent mistake on most people's part in it now. Just for the record, I don't know how to keep score. I have no scorekeeping experience. If the run comes across the plate, you get that. That's the extent of my scorekeeping. That's it. So when we're talking about this, just so anybody who's listening knows, I'm learning along with this conversation.
Yeah.
This is not common knowledge to me. Well, one of the things I wrote down was, sounds like people are worried that scouts are looking at game changer stats. Now, I don't know whoever left that comment. I don't know what age group it was, but it sounds like people are worried that scouts are looking at game changer.
Well, let's just make sure that everybody out there knows that there are no scouts or college recruiters at anything below high school.
Yeah.
You are not going to have any major league scouts that are going to ever look at or probably even inquire about game changer stats.
Okay.
College, for the most part, probably not. You might get some recruiters that know a kid that plays on a team and they have maybe found that those stats are a little bit more trustworthy and they may want to see some numbers. But for the most part, there's literally none of those important people that are looking at these numbers.
Because those people, those important people, the scouts, they're going to the games or watching online maybe to see with their own eyes the performance. And in my amateur mind, what I'm getting from you is that it isn't the actual number that holds all the weight to what the scout is looking for.
When it comes to a major league scout, they're
Yeah.
looking for tangibles like ability, body size, strength, how they
And some of
move,
that stuff you have to see.
athleticism. They're looking at the athlete with their own eyes, maybe through some video, but they understand if they were to see stats and be given stats, they understand that they're not 100% accurate.
Okay.
So, and college recruiters be the same. I think that most of these people at these levels are baseball people and they understand this side of it. They're not going to recruit a player because of what his game changer stats say, period.
So any parent or player out there, if you are not yet to high school, there's no scouts at your game. They're not looking at your game changer. You're not even on their radar yet. Okay.
People who
and that's just how it is because they're not looking at 12 and 13-year-old young, still hitting puberty age. You're just not on their radar yet. It's not anything that they don't need to be on your radar as the player either.
Yeah. People who are manipulating game changer stats, that is 100% because of adult emotions. A lot of these kids, they don't even pay attention to it. It's purely for the adults to feel better for whatever reason.
So my opinion is that this just kind of came to me. It kind of says a lot about your character.
For
if
sure.
you're on there manipulating, and some people might need to, I don't know, reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah,
Like, why are you doing that?
Well, the adult stuff that goes on in youth sports, to be honest, what we see with Game Changer, it makes sense because of all the other crazy stuff that happens. So it's an unfortunate thing that has happened and is happening with, again, such great technology.
Yeah. So I have on here parents/adults manipulating numbers during or after the games. Can parents, whoever's running Game Changer, like a parent, can they go in after the game and change numbers after it's over?
You have to have access to it.
Okay.
And I believe there's...
So coaches have access, I would assume.
Yeah, I believe there's different levels to the access.
Okay.
But yeah, we hear about coaches, like there's comments in there about coaches going in after the fact and changing errors to hits, hits to errors. You know, again, doing things to pad sets. It's also important to realize that when we read stuff through here, we don't always know what that particular situation was.
Right.
You
we
know,
don't
maybe
have full context.
maybe the person writing this is the one that's mistaken.
Yeah.
And the coach went in to actually correct something.
But access is important because, as we've seen, a lot of the time it's forgotten to change the pitcher in the app, in the scorekeeping. And so then the starting pitcher gets the relief pitcher's numbers and it's a mess. And then if you don't have somebody else keeping a book or keeping track of something, you don't have anything referred to go back to make the correction. But if you do, access is important, so you can go back and make those changes. So I guess the numbers are a little more accurate.
Yeah, I remember one time years ago, I saw something about a kid throwing a certain number of pitches, which was a lot more than I would have hoped or thought. And then ended up finding out later that whoever was running it just didn't swap pitchers.
And it's an innocent mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it happens often. And then there was another comment on there that this mistake become an issue later on in a tournament because they were going to have this kid pitch later in the game. And the coaches protested because of what was on...
Because they were over their pitch count and this,
on the Game Changer from a few days before, and the coach didn't even know about it, supposedly. And then it came up. So I guess there was like a half-hour delay in this game where they had to show some comparisons. I even think that they had to show like the video that was on Game Changers, but look at, these are two different pitchers. It just wasn't changed.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how important this app has become and how much it's used in every tournament out there. And it is so flawed with how it's used. Again, it's not a flawed app,
right?
But the amount of user error seems to be extreme in a lot of situations.
Is this the only app that does this? That has video, that has the real-time...
That I don't know.
Stats, like...
I think Perfect Game uses their own system. I think people have called it Diamond Cast. But I think there are a few different scorekeeping type apps out there.
But this is the main app that most teams use.
Yeah, I think Game Changer is the most important.
So another comment kind of theme that I kept seeing was that whoever's running Game Changer, their kid plays a perfect game.
Yeah.
No errors, always gets on base, just has a phenomenal performance.
Yeah. And the hard part about that is like eventually, again, those numbers are manipulated so that the person running it feels better about themselves. So at the end of the season, they feel better about how those numbers look.
Yeah.
But eventually it all plays out. Like this is all a distraction. This is all nonsense because eventually the athlete can either play or they can't. It has nothing to do with what their stats were like when they were 10, 11, or 12. But a lot of the adults out there, man, they live and die by what these stats say. They feel good about it. We'll see stuff posted. People will post on social media. Game Changer, I think, will automatically do some sort of game summary. Like it auto-populates. And people will take a snapshot of these and put it out there. But even now, looking at like, are the numbers that summary is referencing, are those numbers correct? It's a super interesting thing.
Yeah. Do you think this self-imposed or whatever importance, the weight of these numbers comes down to all the analytics that are now used in those upper levels of sport, whether it's a college sport, a professional sport? I think you've even said it yourself. There's people whose only job is all the numbers and all the stats, and that's what they do. And now with social media, the fans, the spectators have access to look at a lot of those numbers and the player's history and everything. Do you think it has anything to do with that kind of stuff?
It 100% could.
And people that enjoy the numbers?
Just with where the world has gone, with what you're talking about with analytics and tracking numbers and history. So like you'll get families who will be able to, because of Game Changer, they'll be able to go back and look at what numbers were like in years past. Again, what those numbers are is...
And they're not going to remember how accurate, like, oh yeah, I remember that game. You didn't actually pitch 150 pitches.
And that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
Is that at the end of the season, it looks like a kid hit 450, but nobody remembers all those incorrect scorekeeping totals from 2 months ago. But at the end of the season, we celebrate that 450 when it's probably might be closer to 300 because of how much manipulating is happening.
Yeah. Something else I saw in the comments is that there are some people that when they're running Game Changer think that that gives them some type of authority. I think one of the comments talked about how the mom running Game Changer was going to be kicked out, ejected. Like the umpire was kicking her out of the game and she was like, well, I'm the Game Changer lady. Like she just couldn't believe she was going to be kicked out because she had a job to do.
I think I actually read that one too. You may have read through more of the comments that I did, but I do think I read that one too. And that's, I don't know, some sort of entitlements coming there. It's,
that's a big word.
Entitlement is a big thing in our world. And I guess some people out there that are running Game Changer feel that they are superior for some reason.
Oh, boy. Okay, I think the last one, and these stories I kind of just can't get over. There are actual physical altercations that happen between parents. It's never the kids. It's never the kids that are getting to a fight in the parking lot after the game or after the tournament. It's the parents, and it has something, even parents from the same team are fighting because they think that the parent who was running GameChanger manipulated the numbers and made it look like their kid had a bad game, or maybe the numbers for that kid are accurate and that parent just doesn't like that. I guess I assume it's the dad that get into fights, but could be the moms too. But you know what I'm trying to say? It must be a shot to the parent's ego.
There was one that I read that I think it came to blows in the parking lot.
Yes.
And it had to do with the parent of a catcher. The GameChanger person gave them a pass ball instead of wild pitch. Pass balls against the catcher. And in this comment, I think it talked about how that parent was going on about how those numbers were going to look bad for a college recruiter or a scout or something. And obviously this guy was so up in arms about it. He got so emotional to the point where he was ready to fight and maybe did fight over the stuff. But again, people need to understand these recruiters, one, they're not going to care.
They're not looking
about one less or one more pass ball. If they're coming to watch your kid, they're going to watch how they perform out there. And two, a lot of these people understand that what these GameChanger stats are is just not real. And that's why people got to understand that these numbers, if the people running it, they're not official scorekeepers. They're not professionals. They weren't trained in it.
They probably didn't even take a class. I would need an online course, a multi-step course on how to keep score to even just feel qualified to keep score, whether on GameChanger or on an actual
And the hard
book.
part is that in baseball and softball, there are so many little rules. I've been around this game a long time, and I guarantee you I could go out there and learn something about scorekeeping or about the game that maybe I see something I've never seen, or learn about a little rule that I just never knew. I never understood.
So do professional umpires, I'm talking like major league umpires, do they know everything?
If they are professional umpires, they better. They have a team of 4.
Right.
In professional baseball, a team of 2 in the minor leagues, and the big leagues have a team of 4 usually. They will sometimes get together and put their heads together about some sort of call.
Yeah.
They may have to bounce stuff off of each other, and then there's one head guy that has to say in it. But
like they've read the book, they've been educated.
So youth sports, youth baseball,
right?
You have kids who are obviously very amateur in everything they're doing.
Right.
You have amateur coaches who are not professional coaches. They don't even know all the rules or all the things about the game. You have parents who are often even more amateur sometimes than the kids are, because you have kids who love the game and know the game more than their parents do. You have amateur umpires who some are better at it than others, but a lot of times they're going out there because they needed somebody to umpire. These tournaments have so many games going on, and they'll just bring in anybody to umpire. So you have...
It's a good way to make a little extra money over the weekend.
You have amateur umpires. So you put all this amateur stuff together with adult emotion.
And I feel like a lot of the adults are expecting professional type performance, even from the kids sometimes.
So because of that, you got all the amateur stuff that's happening on the field, and then you put in GameChanger, which has to cover a lot of things. And even sometimes a lot of stuff may have happened on a certain play, and the person putting it in
couldn't keep up.
Doesn't know the buttons to push, can't keep up.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, a lot of stuff is missed on that one play. So anyways, I mean, it's...
You need a caller. You need somebody who's doing it, and you need somebody watching, like out loud, saying out loud to the person, this just happened. All they have to do is look at the device and push the buttons, which unfortunately means they can't watch the game. That would kind of be the smarter way to do it.
But I've scored thousands of games in my life, and it can become a lot, especially on a play that had the ball getting thrown to certain people and multiple runners on base. I mean, it can become a lot. And I can't imagine with the technology, you're having to go back and push a button back, do all this different stuff.
Different screens and
to put
tabs
in
and everything.
To score a play correctly. So we just need to understand that the final numbers that we see, we have to take it with a grain of salt. We can't look at them and think that they are an exact
It's almost like a generalization. This is a generalization of what happened in this game, or there needs to be a disclaimer, like these numbers are not 100% accurate.
Yeah. someone had a good idea that if you were to give a piece of paper that you could keep some sort of score on and give it to every parent that's watching a game and have them score the same game, and then afterwards compare, that would be an interesting experiment, because most people out there that are watching really don't understand the little parts of the game and how things are scored.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's one that I thought was kind of funny. It's not doesn't have to do with scorekeeping, but there has been some juicy tea spilled and secrets revealed by people having conversations where the video is,
Yep.
and then the video link is sent out, and then
Yeah.
you hear about what's going on with somebody's relationship, or how
Yeah.
somebody truly feels about somebody else, or
Yeah, that's a major lack of feel.
so be careful out there.
That's a major lack of feel and awareness for those people standing right there next to the camera, that they don't know
Yeah.
what is going on, what that thing that's hanging on the fence is actually doing.
It's got a mic.
Yeah.
It's not just video.
Yeah, there's also, and I've never witnessed this, and saying this on this video right now, supposedly there's a lot of adults that have alcohol in their coolers and their water
I
mug.
wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, that adds another layer to the
Yes.
crazy that goes on out there.
There's a lot of people that like joke about it, like quote unquote mommy juice. You know, you have wine in your Stanley, or you've got your seltzer in your, it's a nondescript container of some kind.
Yeah,
and,
I just wonder what the mindset is. As a baseball person, I can't imagine going to a game and watching a game and having alcohol around it. If you're at a major game and you're a spectator, but if you're going to a kid's game and your kid's out there,
Right.
it's an interesting thing to me, that I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that I remember hearing about it. I was like, really? I just hadn't even thought about that happening.
That's just not your personality. It's not mine either. But I guess maybe you compare it to like a day on the lake, a day on the boat. You're just hanging out, sitting around with your friends. But this time you're watching your kids. Yeah, I don't understand the whole alcohol thing either. Or there's some tournaments I've heard where at the concessions, there is beer. There is alcohol sold at the concession stand at some venues
I don't
or whatever.
think I've ever seen that.
I mean, I've never seen it, but I think I've heard some moms.
That's wild. Yeah.
That you're asking for trouble.
For sure.
You are asking for it.
People that are just,
because they're there all day,
Yeah.
sun up to sundown sometimes. And you get a little bored, maybe have a couple of beers, just loosen up a little bit. And but before you know it, you're 6 in and oof.
So let me explain the biggest mistakes made when keeping score of games.
Okay. We have a whole scorekeeping episode, don't we? That we've covered a lot of these, but still, we'll
since we're on the topic.
Yeah.
So hits versus errors, wild pitches versus pass balls, stolen base versus defensive indifference, and fielder's choice. So
the last two, I don't know what they are.
It seems to me that those seem to be the most common mistakes made.
Either you don't know the difference or you mix them up.
Yeah. And those, to be honest, if those aren't scored at least close to being correct, they literally ruin all of the rest of the stats.
Because they're all linked together in some way or another.
Yeah.
There's some type of domino effect, because if you score that it's a hit when it was actually an error, and then that kid goes around and scores, that goes on to the pitcher. And, it doesn't affect the
hit goes on to the pitcher too. Try to give a quick description of each of those.
Okay.
I don't want to be too lengthy, but
yeah.
So hit versus error. A hit is a ball that's hit that cannot be fielded by the defense with ordinary effort. Ordinary effort is the term that is used when it comes to scorekeeping. That is a thought that is used to figure out if it was a hit or an error.
If it's hit 20 feet over the second baseman's head and they don't get it, that is not an error.
Yeah, but then you have outfielders.
But I'm just saying, like that.
So if they can't field it with ordinary effort,
beyond ordinary
a ground ball that is just in front of them, just to the side, maybe a little weak fly ball that's kind of right too. They easily jog to the side to get it. That would be considered ordinary effort. Now, if they have to like sprint to the side to try to field a backhand ground ball or try to dive for one, or even, to be honest, at the pro level, if a hitter smokes a ground ball, right, a one hopper to the shortstop, and it hits the ground and hops off him, even though he didn't really have to move, because it was hit so hard, even though it was right at him, that would be scored hit. So ordinary effort. So now an error is if it should have been made with ordinary effort, but something causes that runner to reach base. So that would be an error. So fielding error, throwing errors.
And
I
feel
wish
like
that they would add mental errors, but that's not
I
not
feel
on
like
there.
the ordinary effort, I think I said this last time, you know it when you see it. If you're watching the game, you'll be able to determine if something was ordinary effort or not.
And also you need to, in my opinion, ordinary effort a little different for a 17-year-old versus a 10-year-old. So when it comes to athleticism, maturity, how long they've been playing the game, some of these things can come into play with what would be considered ordinary effort.
I think maybe that's the problem, because some of these rules, it's almost left up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Somebody's interpretation
It's all a judgment call.
Yeah.
So,
and not everybody's interpretation and opinion and judgment is the same, which is what
you
creates
have 20
conflict.
parents,
Yeah.
sitting there watching these games, and everybody sees something a little bit different.
Yeah.
They have different thoughts. So because of that comes different
Yes.
emotions and feelings on what that one person is putting into the thing.
Yes.
So even sometimes that person doing it, they have their own feelings,
Yes.
which are skewed because of that was their kid. So they're going to be a little bit more lenient, have a little more grace on their kid than they are the other kid who they don't like their attitude.
Or they're trying not to be biased, but their patience is getting thin and they're getting pressure to score. Anyways, okay, moving on.
All right, so next one, let's talk about pass ball, wild pitch. So again, ordinary effort. So if a catcher can catch the ball in the air with ordinary effort, kind of like think about the catcher's body frame. So if he can catch it within his body frame.
Almost like within reach.
Yes.
Kind of.
And he were to miss it, it hits off his glove, kicks to the back, hits off his glove, goes aside something, and that allows a runner to reach the next base, that would be considered a pass ball. Now, if the runner was already stealing when the pitcher delivered his pitch, they were already stealing, then it's not a pass ball. It would go down as a stolen base.
Okay.
Now, if the pitcher throws it and it's outside of the catcher's ordinary reach, or, and this is the one people don't like, even if it were to hit the ground right in front of the catcher, behind home plate, but in front of the catcher, and it kicks away, allowing that runner to advance, and he was not stealing on the pitch, that would go down as a wild pitch.
And that's on the pitcher.
That one is on the pitcher. Now, when it comes to scorekeeping, a pass ball, even though it doesn't go on the scoreboard as an error, a pass ball, when it comes to figure out earned runs, a pass ball is treated as an error.
On the catcher.
Just error in general. I'm not going to go into those details. That's way too complicated, but when you're figuring out earned runs, and errors are a huge piece of figuring out if runs are earned or not.
Okay.
I will save you those details for right now.
Okay. So a wild pitch is on the pitcher.
Yes.
Okay. And is it pass or passed?
Pass ball.
Pass.
P-A-S-S-E-D.
Passed.
Yep.
A passed ball is on the catcher. That's how I keep it straight in my head, because a wild pitch is on the pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just how I keep the two straight in my amateur brain.
Stolen base versus defensive indifference.
What is defensive indifference?
Okay. First, let me say
for those of us
base.
that don't know.
Stolen base is the runner is running on the pitch.
Okay.
And they reach next base. The defense tries to get them out.
Okay.
So first baseman or somebody is holding the runner on the base. They're trying to keep him close, trying to keep him away from stealing. Maybe a pitcher does a pickoff. Catcher tries to throw him out. They reach. That's a stolen base.
Okay.
Defensive indifference. Now, there are a few different layers to it.
Boy.
Yeah. So I will try to keep it simple.
Let's do one thick layer that's generalized.
If the defense does nothing to prevent them from stealing, it's almost like they don't care. They don't care if you steal the base. This will usually happen late in the game with runners at first and third, and they're not worried about the runner at first. They're more worried about the runner at third and the batter. So they're just going to let that guy go to second base. If the middle infielders don't do anything to try to cover second base when that guy's stealing, if they just hold their positions, that's a part of it. If the defense is doing something like they're not holding the runner on base, trying to keep him close, that's a part of it. If the pitcher doesn't try to pick off or the catcher doesn't try to throw him out running, if the defense does nothing to prevent that guy from stealing and they just let him go to that next base, that would be scored a defensive indifference.
Okay.
So the runner is not credited with a stolen base.
Okay. Because they're indifferent about it. They don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that being scored a stolen base?
In youth baseball, it is often.
Okay.
Whoever's running GameChanger, you'll see sometimes that DI is what I think the abbreviation DI is never used. Everything's a stolen base.
Do they even know about it, I wonder?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the problem.
Again, a reason why a lot of these things are just like, I think sometimes some of these people that are running, they see these buttons and they will probably think to themselves like, I don't even know what that button means.
So I'm just going to leave that
I'm just going to
alone.
leave it.
I would do that. I would. I'd be like, I don't want to mess it up, so I'm just going to leave it at 0. We'll fix it later.
I knew you would say that. I would do that.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, what was another one? Fielder's choice. Okay, an example. If there is a runner at first and ground ball to shortstop.
Okay.
Shortstop tosses the ball to the second baseman who's covering second. So they get that runner out.
Yep.
The batter who hit the ball reaches first safely.
Okay.
It is not scored a hit. That is a fielder's choice because the defense
chose
to get somebody else out at a base. Now,
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's wild I've made it this far, and I'm just now learning what fielder's choice is.
So when it comes to scorekeeping, if they were to credit that hitter with a hit and it was a fielder's choice, now at the end of the day, that hit goes towards their batting average, whereas a fielder's choice would not. And there are a ton of fielder's choices in almost every game.
Right.
So if fielder's choice is never used, then again, these numbers at the end of the day, they're all
very skewed.
They're all skewed.
They're off.
So again, we have to be very careful of reading into these stats and saying like, man, these are great stats.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, a kid,
look at all these hits.
A kid may have 3 of those fielder's choices in a game, and if they're all scored hits, and that kid went 3 for 3 at the end of the day. Where he hit 1,000, whereas he actually hit 0 for the day. We just have to be smarter and more real about what's going on. Now, I also want to say something here, because in the past, when I talk about this, I will have parents that will come at that post in response and say, like, look at these kids are 9, 10, 11. If they hit the ball, I'm scoring it a hit. I don't care what you say. I'm going to give it a hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you want to score it that way, that's fine. That's up to you. I'm just saying that you just need to understand that if you want real stats, then do your best to score it correctly. If you're not helping anybody out, you marking all those down as hits, that's more for the adult feelings. These kids, to be honest, they just want to go to ice cream after the game. They just want to go to pizza. They don't care that they went 3 for 3 or 0 for 3. Yeah. Right? They may be a little disappointed for a little bit, but they're not worried about that. That's literally for your feelings as mom or dad. So as a baseball purist, if these kids want to learn how to play the game, then we're going to teach them the scorekeeping part of the game too. Yeah. You know, it's not to hurt their feelings, but I'm just going to teach them the game.
But it's part of the game.
It is. It's part of the game. And that's why, again, as a coach, that's part of my responsibility. We talked about, I think, in the last episode or a couple episodes ago, the numbers of the positions.
Yes.
I'm going to teach the kids the game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm going to help you to understand what is a hit and what is not a hit, what's an error and what's not an error.
It's very basic. I feel like you should want to know that.
Yeah, and I don't think that kids...
I feel like you should want to keep the score accurate.
Yeah. And if you're keeping GameChanger, then why would you not want to do it as best possible as you can? Like, I had a mom in here that she'd been doing GameChanger for a long time, and her son was 13. And this actually came up, the hits versus errors. And I told her, you know, just because they hit it doesn't mean it's a hit. And the look on her face, her son is 13 and she's been doing this for a long time. And she's like, I had no idea.
Right. So it's literally an innocent mistake.
And nobody ever corrected her, which I think was the interesting part too. So for all the years that she's been doing this, no coach informed her, no other parent brought it up. And she's like, well, I mean, from now on, I'm going to do it correctly. So she wasn't meaning to do it on purpose, but it was...
Like, I understand that, they made contact, they quote unquote hit it. I get that. I understand why that would make sense to somebody that doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
But when you know better, you do better typically. Yeah. Or you want to do better.
Yeah. Like, a lot of parents out there, they want the information. They want to do it correctly. And the pass ball wild pitch comparison, I wrote a scorekeeping 101 post, and I've been putting it out there every few months for a long time now. And every time I put it out there, it's usually a mom will make a comment like, thank you so much for clarifying this. And then when I post it again a few months later, they'll talk about, it's been so helpful to understand stuff like that. But there are just so many little things when it comes to scorekeeping that are just not understood. And it just makes all the numbers really wrong.
Well, and unfortunately, you have the people that don't care, and all they want is for the numbers to look as good as possible.
Yeah.
Which really is unfortunate. Okay, is that it for GameChanger for now?
That's it.
We'll say for now.
It'll
come up again.
I'm sure it will come up again. Okay.
Should we give a shout out?
Yeah, let's give a shout out.
To our friend Jen. She loves Baseball 101.
Jen who?
Papali.
Yeah. We saw Jen the other night, and she talked about how much she loved listening, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I love hearing that people do like
Yeah.
listening. We're not just rambling on for
I actually
nothing, but
I actually got a message this morning from somebody on Facebook, somebody I don't know, and she said that it was a question about something else, but in her message, she made a comment about how much she enjoys listening. So,
well, thank
okay.
you to everybody that listens.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to do a little bit. We haven't done this in a few episodes.
Mhm.
We're going to do a little baseball 101 with Rachael.
So for the record, I don't know what you're doing.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're going to bring up. This is
No.
not rehearsed. This is not, I don't even get a minute to think about it. This
No.
is,
I have a few more slang words,
okay.
and then we're going to get into some baseball situational type stuff. I'm going to test your knowledge
Okay.
about what things are called.
Okay.
Okay. Couple slang things. What is a tater?
Oh, I have no idea. I've never even heard you even say that. A tater?
A tater.
Like a hot potato? Are you like bobbling the ball all over the place? I don't know.
No, it has.
Okay.
It's like a moonshot.
Okay.
We've talked about moonshot.
Which is a home run?
Yep.
Okay.
So tater's another name for a home run.
Why?
I don't know.
That's dumb.
Don't ask me that question.
I don't like the tater. I don't like that.
Okay, what is a duck snort?
What? I don't know.
It's a blooper, a bloop hit.
Why? Who made that
I
up?
don't know.
Okay.
You should know this one. What is a walk-off?
A home run. That ends the game. A walk-off home run.
Close.
You hit the home run.
It's not just a home run.
It's not just a home run. It's the game-ending run that wins the game.
You got to
Yes.
that on that hit the run the winning
Oh
run
yeah,
scored.
yeah. So
Any
you're
sort of
not
hit.
you are as the hitter. You are not the run, but you score the game-winning run.
Yeah, any sort of hit would be like a walk-off.
I had that whole thing just scrambled in my brain. I could not get it out correctly. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What is a yacker?
I don't know.
Uncle Charlie.
I don't know. I don't know who Uncle Charlie is.
We talked about Uncle Charlie.
We didn't.
Hammer.
A home run. Home run can't be my answer for everything.
Yacker, Uncle Charlie, and a hammer.
A hard hit.
A really good curveball.
Oh, I don't remember talking about Uncle Charlie.
Did we talk about yacker?
No.
Yes, we have.
No.
It's in one of the very first ones.
I do not remember.
Yeah. Okay. A few baseball.
I've never even heard you say yacker. There's no way we talked about it.
I don't know if I've ever used it, but okay. A couple baseball terms.
Okay.
What is a utility player?
Is that somebody that can put him anywhere, he'll do a good job?
Good job. Multiple positions.
Okay. Does that include pitcher or catcher?
Yeah. I mean, it can, but typically.
It probably doesn't.
Typically, your utility guy is mainly out in the field.
Yeah.
Those positions, yeah.
But he can do any infield, any outfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What is a rally cap?
It's when you put your hat on inside out and it's to get some more energy. You're trying to rally to win the game.
Yeah.
You're like almost there, but.
Are there different versions of a rally cap?
I'm going to say yes.
What type have you seen?
Okay. So you have just on inside out.
Okay.
Is there one where the back of the hat kind of goes in, you put it on top of your head and the bill is sticking straight up?
Okay. I think I've seen that one before.
I think I've seen that on TV
I mean, it can honestly be whatever.
Right. I mean, that's kind of all that.
Hat on backwards would be a rally cap.
Really?
Yeah.
Just, okay.
And then we've seen guys that they'll like flip the backside of the hat in and put their hat on their head sideways. So
sideways. Okay.
Up.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What is small ball?
I don't know.
I don't know if I would have ever talked about this with you. So small ball would be like you're playing the game to score one run. So you're doing things like bunt, steal bases.
Oh, okay.
Sacrifice bunts. You're doing things to just get the guy around to score just one run instead of trying to get a big hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
What is the bullpen?
That's where the relief pitchers hang out.
Okay.
Hang out. They're
Yeah. And
hangout's not really like what they're doing down there, but kind of.
I need to do some research on why it's called the bullpen. Do you know?
Well, I mean, think about like when a rodeo, they're going to ride the bull.
Yeah.
He's pinned up in the gate, getting all hyped up, and then they open the gate and he goes.
And there might be some truth to that. I honestly don't know.
For whatever reason, that's what my brain.
I'm going to do some research and we're going to figure that out.
That's what I equate. I remember I was at a game one time and you were coaching and cute little couple was behind me, like first date maybe. and the guy kept calling the dugout the bullpen,
Oh.
and it was just driving me crazy, and
Oh.
I wanted to correct him so bad, but I didn't want to embarrass him because there was like a bunch of nervous chatter, and I could tell it was just like the first time they were hanging out, just the two of them, and it was really sweet, but it was kind of driving me crazy.
Okay, one more here.
Okay.
What is a squeeze bunt?
I don't know. I don't.
Okay, a squeeze bunt is with a runner at third, and you're bunting and
To get
trying
him.
to score the run.
Okay.
But there's two different types. There's a safety squeeze and a suicide squeeze. Have you ever heard of those?
I have.
Okay.
I have heard of them. Is that the right answer? Is that the answer you're looking for?
That you have heard about them?
I've heard about them, yeah. I've heard those terms.
Okay, perfect.
Suicide, is that like game ending? Maybe like if it doesn't work, the game ends and it's over? Oh, okay. I don't know.
Okay. You want to keep guessing?
No.
Okay. So a safety squeeze is the runner at third base is not stealing home when the pitch is thrown.
Okay.
So they're going to get their lead. They're going to take their secondary lead. The batter's going to bunt, and the runner's going to wait to see that the bunt is put down before they go home.
Okay.
Whereas a suicide squeeze, what would that be?
You're going.
You're running on the pitch.
Okay.
So that batter has to get the bat on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And the hope is that pitch is thrown, ball's hit almost at the same time that the ball is bunted, that runner's coming up and, can slide in and be safe. It's called a suicide because if the batter were to miss the ball or have a little mental mistake and pull back because he doesn't want to bunt it and the catcher gets it, he could just catch and tag the guy.
Over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I had this written down and I must have done this for the game changer stuff. So, or maybe this is just a little game rule that I want to clarify. A lot of people don't know.
Okay.
Have you heard of the infield fly rule?
Yes, I don't know what it is.
Okay. So the infield fly rule is with runners at first and second with less than 2 outs.
Okay.
So,
one or no outs.
Yes.
Okay.
So I looked it up and this rule was created in 1895. Okay, because I wanted to know why did they bring this rule into the game and when did they? So I'll talk about the why in a second, but this is part of the why. What the infielders would do on a pop-up is because it looks like it's going to be caught, the runners will stay at their bases.
Okay.
And then the infielder would just let that ball drop, hit the ground, so then they would pick it up, toss it to the base, and sometimes get an easy double play. Mm-hmm. So they came up with this rule, runners at first and second, less than 2 outs, pop up to the infielder, the batter is automatically out. Mm-hmm. So to prevent those infielders doing something like letting the ball drop and then trying to get an easy double play.
So to make the game harder.
Yes. So when that happens, again, runners at first and second, less than 2 outs, the umpires will yell infield fly, batters out, so that everybody knows what's happening.
Even now today, umpires do that.
Yes.
And so somebody will just loosey-goosey just kind of catch it and they just
Well, now, they just
game.
catch it. Yeah.
Okay.
Now they'll just catch it. And the runners, they can tag up and run if they want to at their own discretion, but the batter is out automatically.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good job.
Are we done?
We are done with that part of it.
Okay.
Now we are going to take a few minutes and let's talk about our 2003 season.
Okay, 2003. It was a big for us.
It was a very big year. So the timeline of this season, this was my first season as a free agent. Mm-hmm. I signed with the Astros, went to Major League Spring Training, just did okay. Nothing spectacular.
And that was in Florida.
In Kissimmee, Florida. My first time in Florida for spring training because all the years prior with being with the Cubs, we were always in Mesa, Arizona.
And I was working at a salon, very pregnant. And did not go with you to spring training.
Yes. So spring training just goes okay. Get sent down to minor league spring training. With, I think, 3 days left in camp, they release me. So I end up coming home, and I'm home for a few days. And the local Colorado Rockies scout I had become friendly with, and was
he a local guy anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was really good friends with my high school baseball coach.
Okay.
So I met him during those years too. Was home for a few days, and then Greg got me a job with the Rockies, ended up meeting them in Oklahoma City the day of opening day. I remember I got right off the plane, got in a taxi, went to the field, walked into the clubhouse.
Yeah.
These guys were like, we got a new player, which is always interesting because in the professional game, at the end of spring training, there's just like me, there is a bunch of guys that get released. So for a team to release guys and then opening day, here comes a new guy walking in the clubhouse, it's a weird thing.
Okay.
You're letting go guys, but
It's
then
common to get
but
released.
then also signing guys at the same time.
Okay.
So when teams do that, these guys don't have what we're looking for, but there's other guys that do. So there's these late spring training, pre-early season swaps that happen that kind of leave a bunch of players scratching their head.
And the scout guy, he could vouch for you just being a local guy and obviously knowing of you and probably to a certain degree keeping up with your career up until that point could say, hey, this guy is legit.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah, so I start the season, and 3 weeks after that, Christopher's born.
No, 3 weeks? Yeah, April 23rd.
Yep. So I end up going with them early April.
None of this is in my memory bank.
Yeah.
This part of the timeline is not in my memory bank.
I think opening day was like April 3rd, April 4th.
Okay.
Christopher was born April 23rd.
Yeah.
So literally 3 weeks later, Christopher was born. When I signed with him, I let them know my wife is pregnant. We're going to be inducing around this time. So they had in their mind.
They knew a major life event was going to happen.
Did Christopher come before the inducement date or did we induce?
Yeah, no, we did not induce with him. So we knew his due date. And we said, if he doesn't get here on or by his due date, we're going to induce.
Okay.
So that we could make sure you were there. But we were willing to kind of risk it if that didn't happen.
So he ended up coming early, and I remember I had to get on an emergency
It was a last-minute flight, because I remember the condensed version of the story is that I called you that morning, and I think I called the birthing class lady and was like, A, B, and C is happening. Am I actually in labor? And she said, well, it really sounds like it.
Yeah.
I'll spare like the gross details.
Was I in Memphis?
You were in Memphis, and I called you back and was like, okay, so she thinks it's happening. I think it's happening. It was really scary for me to say, I think you should come home.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you really only were going to have, it wasn't as little as 24 hours, but I'm not sure if it was any more than 48 hours. You were all the way in Memphis, and I didn't want you to come home and it be a false alarm, because I think in my mind, I was like, are you going to be able to, like, are they going to let you come back? You know,
I think
the whole thing about you missing it was just a huge fear of mine.
Well, and some of those anxieties about like, you don't want to call it too soon.
Right. And it's first child. I don't know the signs.
But probably because of what happened a few weeks before that, I got released, got with a new team. So there's all that uncertainty.
Yeah.
You probably didn't want to pull the trigger too soon. And then I end up having the false alarm, you know.
Right. So you were in Memphis and you got a flight out and you had to fly through Minneapolis to Portland. So you had a bit of a layover.
Right.
And it was back when there was no kind of cell phone operation on a flight.
Yeah.
I think your flight from Minneapolis to Portland was supposed to get in late at night at like 11 or something. And labor up until a certain point was a breeze. So luckily that whole day basically was not that big of a deal on my end. Things were just progressing. I even called my mom. I was like, I don't think you need to come home from work, but it's happening. Yeah. So when you're off work, maybe just head to my house, because she was going to be the one to take me to the hospital. Certainly wasn't going to drive myself. And what time did we even go to the hospital? It was dark. It was like after dinner time. This is like an all day thing, and you're traveling all day. And I do remember getting to the hospital, getting into where they needed me to be, and the doctor checks me, and I'm like 8 centimeters. Water bag has not broken. And they were like, we're just not even going to touch her if we're waiting for Dad to get here. We're just going to let you.
Is this when your mom called me? So when I landed.
I think so. Yeah. It probably was, because that timing makes sense, because, you know, when you're dilated 8 centimeters and you only have 2 more.
Yeah.
But my water hadn't broken, so they were really just going to leave me be, because there was no harm in letting it just do its thing.
Well, when I landed, I checked my phone. I had a voicemail from your mom, and it was a panic voicemail, like, you have to get here now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still sitting on the plane. No, well, like, I had landed in PDX finally up in Portland. But, But
and you landed like an hour early. I remember your flight got in early. Your dad met you at the airport. Luckily, with it being like 10:30, there was no traffic. He
picked me up and he flew to the hospital.
Probably like 15 minutes from the airport to the hospital where he was. Pretty sure I had a panic attack when they were trying to do my epidural, because by that point it was so close that if I was going to have the epidural, they had to do it when they did it. And I was just crying. I just had convinced myself you were going to miss it. I just had, that's it. He's going to miss it and he's going to get here right after it's done. Like worst case scenario type of thing.
So when I got there, how long after that until Christopher was born?
It honestly was even like another hour or so, I think. It didn't happen right away. And with the epidural, I don't know if my water broke on its own or if they ended up, I kept dilating. I don't know if they ended up just breaking it because we were ready. But then whatever happened in that in-between stuff, I pushed for 20 minutes and he was out. That was it.
Well, I do know this, that birth, seeing that happen, and Christopher was our only natural birth.
Right.
The other two were C-sections, but that is one of the most amazing things that I have ever witnessed, was seeing that, but I won't go into too much detail.
Right.
But
the birth of a child.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's intense.
Yeah. Okay, so after that, I think 2 days later, I had left.
Well, I think it was quick. I mean, I think for the mom, you're in the hospital like a max 24 hours. If everything is like good and everybody's healthy and there's no issues, they send you home. Oh, were you home for another 24 hours? And then it was like off to the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really...
Back then, I don't know if it's different now, but back then they gave us 3 days.
Okay.
I don't know if it's any different now, but now they even have like, they call it paternity leave for major leaguers. When they leave, they go on like a paternity list so that they can bring players up from the minor leagues. But I don't know.
It was quick. That's what I know. It was quick.
Yeah.
You were home, gave birth, you were gone.
Okay, so after that, AAA for the Rockies was in Colorado Springs. So you and Christopher moved out about the middle of May, I think is what we said.
3 weeks later.
Okay, so about the middle of May, you guys moved out and
traveled for the first time with a newborn by myself with all the things. Luckily, newborns sleep a lot and it was a very uneventful flight.
Yeah.
It was fairly easy, given I was 3 weeks postpartum.
So I met a great guy with the Rockies who was gracious enough to be open to living with a young family and a newborn.
Well, not only the new guy on the team that he didn't know, but also a newborn.
Yep. And for anybody, if they know this name, but his name is Ben Petrick. And he's an amazing story. Maybe sometime we'll get into it, but he played Major League Baseball with Parkinson's and people didn't know it.
He played for a long time.
Yeah, he's a tremendous human, still doing his thing. But he's a great story if anybody ever wants to look him up. But anyways, to go from there, I had a really good season. And I know in the last episode, we covered 5 adjustments that changed my career. And a lot of those adjustments were discovered during this season. So I won't go into detail about what those adjustments were since we just talked about it. But let's talk about some of the stats that I had this season.
Okay, you were 8-4. You had a, did you say 3.55 ERA?
Yes.
That's what I wrote. Okay, 3.55 ERA. You pitched in 38 games and had 10 starts. You pitched 109 innings, gave up 96 hits, 35 walks, and 82 strikeouts. And your whip was 1.20.
So Colorado Springs, actually the whole Pacific Coast League, is notorious for being a great hitters league and a tough pitchers league.
Okay.
Because a lot of places like Colorado Springs have a higher elevation. So higher elevation usually means bigger ballparks and means the ball flies a lot further.
That elevation is no joke either, by the way. That was my first experience with anything like that.
It messes with a lot of things, even spin on breaking balls, movement of pitches. It can really play some mind games. And it's a reason why Colorado is a really tough place for the Rockies to find pitchers who do well there, because the guys go in there, they go from having great careers and they go play in Colorado and they just struggle to be the same type of competitor. So again, this was one of my first times being a reliever, getting to experience that. Being able to pitch inside effectively was a huge reason why I was able to have success there. So in the last episode, we talked a lot about Bob McClure teaching us how to use inside fastballs effectively. I took that approach and, to be honest, did a lot better than most guys would do there. So a 3.55, it may not sound like an amazing ERA, but for that sort of place like Colorado Springs, like Denver, you're not going to see a lot of ERAs that low. So being able to use that approach in a place like Colorado Springs where guys are just looking to get extension, they want to lift the ball, they're trying to hit the ball to the outfield. by using the inside part of the plate a lot, I was able to do things like open up the outer half and just become a different type of pitcher than what a lot of guys were. So because of that, I was able to be more successful, get more outs than guys tend to get there.
Outs as in strikeouts?
No, my
Or
strikeouts
just
were
outs?
my strikeouts numbers were actually kind of low this season.
Okay.
So, but I was just able to get a lot more weaker contact.
Okay.
I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I was able to pitch more on the inside part of the plate. And then because of that, open up the outside part of the plate and get weaker contact off the end of the bat.
Okay.
So guys were less comfortable hitting off of me in a place like that, whereas usually guys are very comfortable hitting in a place like Colorado Springs or the whole Pacific Coast League.
Okay.
And I took that approach in every stadium that I went to in that league.
That's just how you pitched.
Albuquerque, New Mexico is an amazing hitter's ballpark. The ball flies there. Las Vegas, Salt Lake City. There's a whole bunch of stadiums in that league that are great for players to hit in.
Okay.
So by me taking that approach, and the year after this, 2004, was even better than this season was. And again, I still took that approach of making guys uncomfortable on the inside part of the plate and getting them out of the way. So even with the success that I had that year, when the season was over, the Rockies still didn't offer me a contract back.
That's right.
So I ended up becoming a
remember.
free agent again, and we can get to the next episode, but I ended up signing with the Giants for the next season. So that was a little bit of a disappointment because I did have such a great season with them in Colorado. I kind of proved myself. But again, kind of showed me a little bit that what I had, what my stuff was like, wasn't really what they were looking for. Might have also had to do with, I think that I ended up having back issues during that season, having to get a lot of work from the trainer during that season just to keep my body good enough to compete. That might have also had something to do with it.
They bring you on as a reliever, and then your 10 starts was they saw that you could start, or?
So yeah, they signed me to just be another pitcher. But
Okay.
at the beginning of the season, I fit in as a reliever.
Okay.
And then as they saw that I was able to be an effective pitcher and they knew that I had a history of being a starting pitcher, those 10 starts, a majority of them were spot starts like we've talked about before. But I do think at one point they did have me in the starting rotation.
Okay. Okay, so given everything that we've talked about, all the game changer stuff, the 2003 season, and then even pulling from what we talked about last episode with the 5 things that changed your career, what type of advice then would you give to a coach?
I think it's for coaching, perspective and remembering who's in front of you, what age they're at, where they're at as far as on the puberty scale. We need to be super empathetic to where they're at in their process and understand that we gotta be careful of teaching them as a whole. We can teach them the game as a whole, but we need to see each of those players as an individual and understand that they're all at different places and what does each kid need from me. And it's definitely one of the hardest things about coaching is that we have to get down to them at their level no matter where they're at.
Because even though they're all 10 years old, they're all 11 years old, they're all 17 years old, they really are individuals.
Yes.
And they're all at a different place.
Yeah, so we're teaching the game, but we're also teaching individuals. And just because Frank over there needs work on his bat path, little Joey, he needs work on getting his stance right. So we got to be careful about where each of those kids are at and see them for where they're at and just help them where they're at and not come down on them because they may not seem as prepared as somebody else. It's literally just where they're at.
Can I offer a little advice?
Of course.
And this could be for anybody that wants it. Take it or leave it. Zoom out. And what I mean by that is referring back to the game changer stuff. If you're worried about that in that one play, in that one game, in that one tournament, you're so zoomed in that you can't see the bigger picture. And so zooming out, people even call it a 50,000 foot view. Just zoom out and know that it really is just that. It's a moment and then it's gone. And that although those moments are building blocks to learning life's lessons through sports, it isn't the end all be all final say in your kid's ability to play, your ability to coach, your ability to parent. It really is just a moment, the good and the bad, because even those good moments don't last forever. You can't have the good without the bad. You can't have the bad without the good. Just zoom out and just realize it's just a game and it's not that big of a deal, and just have fun with it.
It's all a part of the process.